How great would it be to get up close and personal with the beauty industry heroes we love and admire, and to ask them, how did you learn to do what you do? I'm Chris Baran, a hairstylist and educator for 40 plus years, and I'm inviting all our heroes to chat and share the secrets of their success. I have to say that I am super excited about today's guest because not only is a good friend but he's been a comrade. We've worked together on shows, etc., for about the last probably 20, 25 years. And just to let you know a little bit about him, he's spent the last 45 plus years evolving from a hairdresser to an educator to the director of education for LPPD, L'Oreal, to, thank God, a leadership team builder and a personal development specialist. He is probably one of the most calmest people that I know, with the most level head on his shoulders. He's traveled the world to help people find peace and purpose in their life. He takes great groups of people that work together and then transforms them into synergistic teams. Whenever I bring his name up to anybody, the first words that come out of their mouth is always love. Anecdotally, here's another one for you. He did try out as a pitcher for the New York Yankees. So let's get into this week's Headcase, Mr. John Stellato. Mr. Stellato. I mean, I don't think we've ever met before. I met so many people on here that I haven't met before. But Johnny, you and I go like way. I'm talking further back than way back. How the hell are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. I'm really good. It's crazy that I'm actually sitting here having a conversation with the man. I mean, first of all, Chris, congratulations. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Congratulations on your award and all it's mind-boggling how you make this stuff happen. So I know we're friends, but I just want to say it's an honor that you even asked me to be part of this.
Well, Johnny, it's first of all, you deserve to be here, and I want to, and we're going to do our chip for everybody watching and listening now. We're doing our Chip and Dale routine here where we're, well, thank you, Chip. Oh, it's okay, Dale.
No, really.
No, really. No, you're way better than I am. Yes. But I want to throw, just so everybody knows, Johnny and I have a lot of history before. We've been on stage together for like hundreds of years. We've broken bread together. We've had more laughs and more drinks. Oh, did I say drinks? I meant more good times together. But I want to throw something out here. I'm going to say a name, and I want to see if you can remember the incident. Okay, you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Pam T. Hose.
Oh my God. You definitely said the word.
So let me set this up and I'll set up my side of the story, and then Johnny can fill in what he believes is the truth, which wasn't. Just like 100 years ago, when perms were back and really big, I was the perm guy, and I used to travel around teaching perm techniques. And watching somebody do a perm on a mannequin or a model really wasn't. It was like watching paint dry. So I believed in props. So I built a life-size mannequin out of cotton, and the body parts were all like pantyhose, arms pantyhose, etc. And so we made all this inside, and she would have interchangeable heads that I would take off, and so she would come on with a styled head, and I had like seat belts that we would hook around onto the chairs, etc. And Johnny says to me before the program, he tells me the story about how he used to pitch for tried out for pitching for the New York Yankees, and we'll get into that story in a second. But I said, when I say this word, I just want you to take this mannequin that's with the perm rods in it, and I want you to just throw it out to me from backstage. So everybody's got so I'm up at the front of the stage and I'm doing my routine, etc. And all of a sudden, bang, off the side of my head, this mannequin hits me in the side of the head, rolls in the audience, lands on this woman's lap, and and I'm shaking my head, looking around, and so to this day, Johnny looked at me from backstage and said, "You said the word. You said the word." And I said, "I never said the word yet."
Oh my God.
So that's been our catch for a whole lot. I hope you guys enjoyed that. So, Johnny, it's been let me ask you this. Was that at that show, was that the first time we had met?
That is the very first time that I met this amazing artist that came down from Canada. And you forgot to tell the group here your hair and your put 'em up. And you used to do that on stage. I mean, you not only, because he used to have very long hair, tall, handsome, and then he would just put it out there. He would say, okay, before you think it, let me just tell you, yes, I am the cowardly lion. And then he would go through his whole thing, put him up, and everybody would laugh, right? But
Yeah.
that was crazy amazing, and that was the first time we met. And I thought that would be the last time I would ever have an opportunity to see you because for sure I was going to get my ass fired. It was my first show working with a major artist. And I was pretty proud because I had that mannequin cocked. It was ready. And I said, I could do this. I can't do hair, but I could do this, you know. And I'm telling you, you said the word.
Yeah.
And
I never said the word. I never said the word.
And as the head flew, Chris wasn't turning, and I'm like this, and it hit him. These were perm rods. I could have killed the man in the temple with marks. And he just laughed it off. I mean, he's like, okay, who did that? Okay. And he was like, got right into his cowardly lion act, and I knew it hurt, but he just went on with the show. And to this day, no matter what goes on, when we're on stage, it's showtime. You just got to keep going.
See, you said I was tall and handsome before see, now look what happened after he hit me in the head with a perm rod mannequin. So, Johnny, we said that now, and I'm sure that there's people that are out there that know you and love you, and that is part of what I talked about in your intro is that's out there, and everybody that meets Johnny says, "I love you." That when you get that word, it's about love. But that I want to go down that rabbit hole in just a second here, but the part is we mentioned the Yankees and that you tried out for pitching on there. And I would be remiss, and people are going to get caught in a loop if we don't talk about that. So tell us a little bit about, were you always, was that always your major? Like I know you were a sports freak all the while. I was not, you were. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah. I mean, growing up, it was quite different growing up. I grew up in Yonkers, New York, and my real name is Giancarlo. And Giancarlo. And growing up, there was no such thing as a Giancarlo in the neighborhood, so I allowed outside influences to affect my life, because I wanted to fit in. Not knowing truly what my name really meant, because in our family, Giancarlo were by both grandparents, John and Carlo. And so I decided to shorten my name because I wanted to fit in. I was outcasted because I hardly spoke English and a little bit of Italian, and there was no such thing as a Giancarlo. So I allowed outside influence to affect our lives.
Interesting.
So a lot of learnings kicking in from that day. But what got me through was music. I'm a drummer. Was music and sports. I was gifted with a real strong right arm, and sometimes when I first went to Yankee Stadium, we only had black and white TV at one time, and I realized the stadium, the grass was green, the wall was blue, and I knew one day that was going to be me. I saw it. Think about when we have a dream, and if you see yourself in these dreams, sometimes they come true. But the idea is you got to be careful what you ask for. Sometimes they come true. So fast forward. Pitching, with school, and for some reason, somehow, there was an opportunity that there were scouts in the audience, and I was invited to come pitch to try out for the New York Yankees. And so I got the letter, and my letter said, "You suck, and you can't pitch with us." and that was my filters, and I didn't know that then, but that's what I wanted to hear, and that's what I thought they said. But meanwhile, the letter was really a very beautiful letter, but I did not make the team. But hey, how many kids in your neighborhood ever
Yeah.
had a rejection letter from the New York Yankees, right? So I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
And sometimes, if you have a dream and if you don't lean forward and do what makes your heart sing, you're going to be 89 years old sitting on your rocking chair wondering what
Yeah.
if. So things happen for a reason. I got to
Yeah.
meet this amazing young lady, and here we are 47 years later, and Valerie is my baby. She's my
Yeah.
wife and my friend.
Yeah. For life, right?
Yeah.
And I know that what you wrote that down. I just wrote down the word universe because that might have been, let's face the universe. Where would you be? Or you probably would be still doing this after your career with the Yankees. But that's sometimes the things that we think what we are destined to do is not necessarily what we're destined to do. And the universe sometimes will go, and it's really hard. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not saying it's easy. And just because we say
Yeah.
the universe says no, sometimes it can be really hurtful.
Yeah.
So how did, I mean, I imagine that must have been very, what's the word I'm looking for? It must have hurt a hell of a lot.
Devastating. Devastating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I want to just sort of go forward in that now. If you had to look back at that thing, knowing where you are now, as I'm sure you've done this many times, but just for the people listening and watching, what would you say to that kid after you got that letter? Might not want to hear it,
Yeah.
but what would you say? What would you say to them knowing that that future is what it is?
Yeah. I would have said to that kid at this age, knowing what happened, back to that kid back then, say, you know what? Your future is going to be freaking amazing, and you were not to be a Yankee. You would be to be with this amazing woman, to have these two amazing children, and to work with an amazing group of people, and to expand your wings greater than you could ever imagine. So it's okay. Sometimes we strike out in life, if you will, but
Yeah.
there's always another time to get the bat. And the next bat, when you get up again, you're going to hit that home run. And
Yeah.
I would definitely say I did the right. I would never do anything different.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
it's the wildest thing, especially because there's what I'm noticing is the what's the word? I wish I could give a baseball metaphor right now, but I can't think of one. It is I was never good at sports, but the point is the recapture, the recoup, the setback, the choosing another fork in the road. Pick a multitude of metaphors in here, but I'm speaking on behalf of you now because I know you, and we've been friends for 100 years. So I've always seen everything that you do is always first foot forward and do the best I can. And I really believe that that's why you are right behind you. And I think you're the epitome of that
Oh,
sign that's right behind you. And I know that's your motto, it's what you do, but for those of you listening, it says just
mm,
be.
mm,
And even Johnny is known as Johnny Just Be now. So tell
mm.
us a little bit about how the transition from or where Just Be came from. How did you happen upon that and why?
Yeah. Just the noise in our heads, growing up, and all the barriers and the obstacles that we all go through. You could talk about your story, and I guarantee you, Chris, when you tell your story, a lot of people could relate because they'll put themselves in your story.
Yeah.
And once we get past the noise, just be. You can never just be present. You can never just be present because time keeps moving, and that was five
Right.
seconds ago when we spoke about that. But when everything is still, this is my perspective. When everything is quiet, when everything is still, when you're okay where you are right now, I focus on the power of one. Like, what's the most important thing right now in my life
Hmm.
is to be here with you, Chris, and
Yeah.
that's the only most important thing. So just be where you are, and do the best you can. You give yourself 100% with pure intention, and you're not going to be perfect, And we sometimes, when we teach, we say, we learn through mistakes, and mistakes are okay, and go forward with that. And everybody plays along because they want to play along because they trust you a little bit. But quite frankly, inside their heads, mistakes are not okay. Because I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah,
about you, but growing up, especially when I went to school, when I made mistakes, I got my ass kicked.
yeah,
And so when people tell me it's okay that you made a mistake, I have something to prove to them, meaning whoever they were, the teachers and so on, that the ones who put us down, that you weren't good enough, instead of teaching us that there's a possibility to potential. And who knew that all of this stuff that I growing up that we all go through was molding, preparing me, and like most of us coaches, to be a voice, to be a
yeah,
messenger. And doesn't mean that we own it. It's just something that we live through and we're sharing. So we talk about people's pain, and it's okay. So
yeah,
just being is, if you're not in a good place, recognize you're not in a good place and just be with it, and then move forward from there. What can I do now to recognize I'm not in a good place? What's one thing that I could do to ripple away from it? And
yeah,
and it's just basically just being where you are. It sounds so easy, but it's so freaking difficult.
yeah. You know, Johnny, it's when you said that your thing about just the one, right, what's the power of one,
Mm,
and I want to throw something at you because I always learn from you. But I remember, and I think we were in the same program together when Michael Cole was giving everybody a class on quiet mind. I don't know if you
mm,
remember that,
a long
but
time
and I
ago.
want to see if there's a comparison to this. So let me give you this, the people listening, a bit of backstory. Michael Cole was talking to everybody about how your mind works, and when you want to come up with a new idea, a new thing, you don't want to go back into what he called your active mind,
Mm,
because in your active mind lives old ideas. And I'm really giving you the Reader's Digest version. But so if you try to do something new, you're going to go back and see just old thoughts, and you're going to try to put them together a little ways. My paraphrased way would be, 10 haircuts, and you're just going to try pieces of those 10 haircuts and fit them together and make a new haircut, but they're still all old ideas. Whereas, like in our great Indian culture that we have in North America, our First Nations, they have a saying called quiet mind, where you just don't think about anything. I know that there's a joke that's out there that men are easier, men it's easier for men because we don't think about anything at all. But the reality is if you people think about when you're driving down the road and you see a picture, or you're in the shower and you're just not thinking about anything, the idea that you want will come to you, and it could be new, and it could be fresh, and it could be innovative. The question I have here, Johnny, is there a comparison when
yeah.
you talk about the one and that?
Yeah, very much so, Chris. Everybody has their thoughts on what that is because we humans are still trying to figure it out. But going to quiet mind and just being, it's the place of solitude. It's the place, again, my perspective, of calmness and lack of thinking.
Yeah.
When we're thinking, we get ourselves in trouble. Thinking
Hmm.
is the killer of dreams. If you have a thought, it's good that you have a thought. So what are you going to do with that thought? But once we start thinking, we get in our own heads, and we crash and burn in our quiet minds, or just being. So
Hmm.
yeah, very much. I mean, I believe, maybe I'm wrong. I'm not an expert on it, but I think it's the same thing. When we're not thinking about anything that's not from the past, or anything that's not coming up in the future, there's no comparison, so we're just being. But it's so difficult as humans because we have baggage, and our ego. We either become an enemy, an obstacle, or to put end to something, and that's our protection. We're protecting ourselves from the pain of the baggage that we still can't let go. And many times when you hear people say, leave your baggage at the door, okay, very nice, but we can't do that,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and the idea is slowly all the stuff, either schooling or culture, behavior, neighborhood, parents, family, it's just stuff that comes on top of us, and it didn't come all at once, so we have to just peel it back one
Hmm.
little bit at a time, and just telling yourself I'm a work in progress and it's okay. It's crazy. I mean, just this past year, where what I've been through, either naturally through 1 year ago tonight, Hurricane Ian hit
Mm.
Florida 1 year ago.
Yeah.
Right now, it's whatever time it is here. It was 160-mile-an-hour winds shaking the house here, and here we
Yeah.
are a year, and it's put things in perspective. Like you become very quiet, and you become very understanding of what really is important. That day, who knew we could have been blown away? Like so many
Yeah.
people didn't make it through. And then this past year, I went through personal stuff. And either you let it beat you up or you beat it.
Yeah.
And it teaches you understanding how valuable and how crucial and delicate life is, and we just get on our own heads with stuff that's not important.
Yeah.
you know we just need to take a breath and do the best we can while we do have breath, to help and serve the best we can, because it's just so beautiful when you see people's my light bulbs go off, and then you can see their light bulbs go off, and we know we're making a difference, and it just sings to my heart.
Yeah. I remember, I think that would have been a year ago, like you said, to the day. And I remember talking to you because there was so many of us that was concerned about you. We knew it was hitting you right where your home was.
Yeah.
And I remember we'd get sound would go in and out, but we kept in touch somewhat through the day. But I remember you saying that you had to literally live in a closet
Yeah.
with didn't you say there was mattresses or something that you had packed around you or
Yeah, well, they told us, get into somewhere where there's no windows, and we went into our bedroom closet and just protect yourself as much as you can, and just make sure nothing can fall on top of you, and the noise, the
yeah.
noise just wouldn't stop for 18 hours. Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was crazy. It was just too late to leave. I literally just got home that morning from an event, and and like we finished putting the shutters up at the house, ran in the house, and the rain started, and for 18 hours it didn't stop. It wasn't moving. It was like seven
Yeah.
miles an hour storm. But here we are. The roof is back on the house, and life is good.
Well, thank God for that. Thank God for that. It was yeah, so I'm going to just this what was the catalyst that I mean, were you here's be the first part. I've always known you to be calm. You've always had that quality about you. I know we've had a couple of chats that we got pissed off at the world and so on, but you've always seemed to have that quality about you. Was that quality there, or was there a linchpin somewhere
Yeah.
that you learned from that got you there?
Yeah, that was definitely my dad. That was
Oh,
definitely my dad who taught me that. Whenever adversity comes your way, I mean, my dad went through so much. When adversity comes your way, you have a choice. You could be completely crazy and people think you're crazy, or you could take it and keep it inside and stay calm and have a choice how you behave. And then you have the other side of it, my mom, and
hmm.
she would be the Looney Tune cartoon character. You know,
I met her.
yeah.
I met both of them, and they were amazing people.
So yeah, I think the calmness, even though you stay calm, you're deep inside. You're definitely in deep thought about what do you need to do and how are you going to choose to respond. How are you going to
Yeah.
respond to this? Sometimes we have choice, and the choice is either, my attitude needs to be in a positive mindset or a negative mindset. And if we don't have control of the choice, you have choice either to get in or get out of it. And so, at the end of the day, it's our lives. It's
Yeah.
my life, and how, and what we do, what I do when I go out and teach, it helps me stay grounded because we have to be authentic. We have to be so real because it has to be you.
Yeah.
So it's not just something we do for 6, 8, 10 hours, 4 days, 10 days, and then you go home and you're this crazy person. So it teaches me to learn to walk the talk because I could never look in the mirror and say, you're saying this, but you don't do that.
Right.
So this whole dynamics where the universe took me kept me completely grounded, and I'm just so grateful for it.
Yeah. Was there, were you always there though? Was it like when you were a kid, was that you were going, okay, good, I got to be grounded. But what was it
Mm,
was your dad, but was there something that happened, a catalyst that was somewhere along, like, I can't even imagine you losing your whatever on somebody, but
yeah.
did that ever happen? And well, like, would you always get that it was just inherent, or was there something that you went, oh my God, I can't be like that. I have to be more like my dad is, or whatever. What was
Yeah.
that?
Well, yeah. Growing up, I was always the older brother, the friend, the older
Oh,
brother, that type of thing. They were all my age, and some were even older than me. But the parents always came to me, and to be the older brother. And
got it.
I remember growing up in the late 60s, early 70s, and there was a lot of racial stuff going on. There was a lot of craziness going on. The march, with Martin Luther King, and we're
Yeah,
trying to find unity, back in the day. Look, and here we are. We're talking today, right?
yeah,
And I just never got it because I think to me the streets were crazy growing up. I
yeah,
remember we were in the ballpark playing basketball. There were kids were shooting hoop. We were playing baseball, and next thing you know, we see these bottles, glass bottles, come flying down raining on top of us. And it was a whole completely different gang. And so I grabbed my friend by his neck and we ran and we hid. We jumped over the fence and we hid. And the National Guard comes down, and all I kept seeing was the National Guard with their sticks, and just didn't matter who it was, just beating the crap out of these kids. And I held on to this kid so tight, and I just didn't understand what was going on. His name was Jesse. He was a bass player in our band. He was a black kid, and I just didn't know what the hell was going on here. And I said, Jesse, we got to do something. We can't let this happen, and so I maybe I'm just too naive to the fact, but I don't know, Chris. Maybe it was just something inside me that to be a protector.
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know where it comes from. The calmness part, trying to stay in control, was definitely my dad.
yeah,
But I don't know where stuff like that happens. I remember any time there was really the crap hitting the fan, like I had to take care of the kids. Meanwhile,
yeah.
the kids were my friends because
Right,
I was thinking that their parents were going to come after me because they always said keep an eye on them,
right.
you know.
Well, there must
And
have been. They must have had a level of trust on you for that, because otherwise, no
yeah,
parent's going to say that to another kid. Half the time, they were more wary of the
yeah,
friends that they were hanging around with. But
yeah,
I can certainly see that quality because we've been friends for years, and I've seen that in you all the time.
yeah,
Because I know, and that was a bit heavy. And I know when they do your life story and make the movie out of that, I'll be too old to play your part, but I can see that Johnny, they'll get there. I don't know who they're going to get to play you, but I can see Johnny coming out all of a sudden and breaking everybody up, and everybody goes and has a soda together at the end.
yeah. Fix that camera. It's a little crooked. Would you fix this? Excuse me, that's not right.
Yeah. Now, you had mentioned your dad, and I want to get just a little more to the lighter side here.
Mm,
I can remember when we were at, Rita and I, my lovely lady, would come out and we'd be at your house, and we'd be drinking wine and laughing just laughing hysterically. I'll leave it at that. But I remember so much you telling me the story of your dad when he moved to the town and he went into the stores and he kept seeing these big replicas of things that they sold. And you've
Yeah.
got to tell people that story.
Oh my God. Well, we, again, you have to put yourself in these shoes. We went to the shopping center, outdoor shopping center, and this was a Sunday thing. We would go to church, we go to mass, and then we would take the baby, my younger sister Teresa, in the carriage, and my older sister would be there, all dressed up in a little hat. This goes back a long time. And I wanted to push the carriage,
Yeah.
but they won't let me push the carriage because I was too young, but I wanted to push the carriage. So my dad will let me push the carriage, but he would have his big paws. The guy was a monster. He would have his claws on top of mine, making sure that I wouldn't let go of the carriage. And then he sooner or later let go. As we're walking, well, in the storefronts, he looks at and he was this big pair of pants,
Uh-huh.
and he says in Italian, "Oh, Maron, oh my God, I
Yeah.
pantaloni, yeah, those pants. Whose are they?" My mother says, "You're asking me? I'm with you. I don't know." So he opens the door and he yells in the store. He says, "I pantaloni, yeah," and the guy goes, "What you say?" He goes, "Oh," he comes out. He goes, "I pantaloni is what you say." And my mother says, "What?" So they were going on, and then there was a shoe store, and there was a big shoe in the window. And they go, "Wow, who could wear a pair of shoes that big?" And my dad was always a comedian. He was always looking, he's always poking. So he opened the door, and like they understand Italian. He goes, "Hey, Scott, Biggie, yeah, the shoes, whose are they?" And the guy says, "What you say?" He goes, "I knew it." So he comes out, he turns to my mom like, "See, I told you, it's what you say." So now we're getting in the car, we're putting the carriage in the trunk, and then we're trying to get out of the shopping center, and this big procession, this funeral going by. And we're waiting and we're waiting. My father's like, "Oh, this must have been the mayor. This must have been a big person. Look at all these cars. We're waiting here a long time." So my dad gets out and he yells out, "Qui est mort? Who died?" The guy goes, "What you say?" He goes, "Oh, Maron." He goes, "I can't believe it. What you say died. I never met him." And my mother
What'd you
says,
say?
"What you say?" And my mother says, "Get in the car. You're always making problems." He was always a joker. He was always singing, always happy. My dad.
Oh yeah, yeah. The I want to talk a little about you because your history. How did you get like all of a sudden something happened? Yeah, you wanted to get into hair. How did your hair story start? Where did it?
Yeah. Well, after the whole Yankee thing, okay, now what? So I had a few family members tell me, "You should do hair, you should try hair." I'm like, "What? I play drums, I play sports, hair, like where does that come from? Like what are you talking about?" "Oh, you should do it. You're very creative." I did photography for a while. I went
Yeah.
to a school in Manhattan and I did photography, and that didn't work out because the company moved to California. And my mother grabbed me by my throat. She goes, "You're not leaving the family." I'm like, "All right, take it easy. Don't hit." Italians, you don't leave the house until you get married, and then
Yeah.
maybe they come back. You
Yeah.
never know. So I finally went to beauty school, and I went to Wolford Academy in White Plains, New York. And I hated it, Chris. I hated beauty school because I wasn't present.
Oh.
I should be pitching for the Yankees, and here I am putting freaking rollers on a mannequin head. Like, what is happening here? So I hated my teacher. I hated the school, and that was a rough first month. And the kids used to make fun of me because I used to walk from school with my little white jacket with my name tag, my little box of rollers, and they go, "Hey, Johnny, how's the hair business?" Like, take it easy. So, so about a month in, I met this young lady, and she wanted to practice her manicuring, and she looked pretty fine to me. And I said, "All right, you want to hold my hand for an hour? Go, giddy up, go for it."
Yeah.
So, long story short, that young lady became my wife, Valerie. And And it's amazing how the universe puts things in front of you. What made me go to that school? What made me go
Yeah.
to that school at that time? What made me, well, and it's just mind boggling. I truly believe that it's already written. Maybe I'm a
Yeah.
little, I don't know, but whatever our story is, it's already written. And like things that we do and doesn't work out, it was supposed to be like that because it's already written.
Yeah.
So if there's something in life that we're looking for and we don't have, just take it easy. It's not time yet. And I learned to be grateful for who and what I do have, and just focus on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever see that there was a movie out called Sliding Doors? Do you remember that? There was
No.
a movie out, and it was, I can't remember who the stars were in it, etc. But the premise is about this girl that went to the subway, I believe it was in New York, and the doors opened, or no, she was running for it, and the doors closed, and she didn't get
Ah.
on the train. And what they did is they made the whole thing about two scenarios: what happened if she got on the train, and what
Ah.
happened if she didn't? How did their life play out? And I always think of that movie
Mm-hmm.
when that crossroads, those doors opening and closing, that was kind of that, the Yankees thing didn't work, but your life did,
Mm.
and you got Valerie, you got hair. But but there was also a thing that I see in our industry so much so where people choose hair, and there's always this thing, and I realize that this might sound a little mixed up, but stay with me on this. Is I always hear this, and I was going to ask you this later, but it just seems right now. I've always been told, or always people hear them say that you're that you've always reinvented yourself,
Mm.
which I've never really believed in. I
Mm.
think that you either find stuff that you can do, and then when you can level up, and get to the next level, or you find something else within that frame that you love to do,
Mm.
and then you take that path. And so it's just this gentle wind to where you end up in your future. And
Yeah.
I know that you started as the hair, then you became an educator. And then I remember, and I want to tell a story here about, I remember, and I don't know if this is the time, but I remember you were in a class that we were doing, and we were doing a train the trainer program. And I remember that as people were wanting to be coached, I remember you were sitting up in that back right-hand row, and people would say stuff, and we'd ask people, okay, who has anything to offer? And you gave these amazing points that most people would have never saw.
Mm.
And then I remember being in there when every person wanted you to coach them on stuff.
Mm.
So I remember that so vividly. And then all of a sudden, that was the track. All of a sudden, you became a trainer, you
Mm.
became an education manager,
Mm.
and that led you to where you are now.
It
And
sure did.
because, yeah, wherever the hell that is, right?
No, it sure did. It's funny because you're saying the doors that open and close. I was
Yeah,
actually walking through the halls while you were on stage working. I think it was for Sam, and I was walking through the halls. I just finished a meeting, and I heard stuff going on in the theater. I wasn't supposed to be part of the class, but to the analogy, the door
yeah,
opened. I walked in and quietly tried to sneak up to the corner and sit in that corner. And that's when everything completely changed, because at that point I was an educator with the brand, and that's when everything completely changed, when there was an opportunity to go international.
yeah,
For some reason, for me to walk into that room, and then you even said, Johnny, would you like to, chime in here, and it's amazing, just that scenario, how things happened. So
yeah.
thank you for allowing me to be part of that day, because that really propelled my career to do what I needed to do.
Yeah.
Weird, crazy weird.
This episode is sponsored by the Salon Associate Accelerator from trainersplaybook.com. Are you struggling with the time and cost of associate training? Do you feel like your salon is running you We'll get your associates on the floor, all with 90% less time from you, so you can get back to building your business. Get them world-class design, finishing, color, and client care skills they'll use every day for the rest of their career, while you focus on realizing your vision. Go to trainersplaybook.com and get the Salon Associate Accelerator. And now, back to the show. And so, I mean, right, because that was when you were the international education manager, or director, I should say. And so tell us a bit about that. What was that like? Because it's one thing teaching in America when people have the same culture and they know that as soon as you start, everybody's involved. But then you had to go international, and you were teaching all over the world. What was it like at the beginning, teaching the way you taught at home, and then having to learn things that you cannot do, and so on when you're going international?
Yeah, a lot of homework on culture, and how people behave in their culture, and respecting the culture. So I did a lot of reading on, for instance, if I had to go to Japan or Norway, wherever it was, understanding how the behavior is, and you want to model that to show respect.
Yeah.
On the other hand, here we're launching our brand, and to be the point of difference, and you have to play the game of the point of difference right from the get-go, and to see and to have enough courage and have enough strength inside you to tell yourself okay, do you truly believe this is the right thing to do? And if so, lean forward and just be, because you are the spokesperson of the brand at this point.
Right.
This has nothing to do with me, but I am the messenger of the brand, so let the message go through. There's been a lot of times that I was warned, not to name countries or people, but I remember being picked up and from the airport, and they would say, don't expect much here because we don't do what you do in the States.
Right.
And so at that point I said, then that's okay. If you want, you could turn the car around and take me back to the airport. I will go to a country who will be open for it. And they said, no, don't misunderstand me. You could do what you wish, but don't expect much. I said, okay.
Yeah.
So showtime, if you will. And I learned, Chris, if you treat people with respect and with honor, and yes, there are certain cultures, but I would have to learn. I'm the outside. I would have to learn the behavior and be flexible enough to make some kind of movement and a shift that they understand who we are. So next thing you know, people are people. People love to learn. People love to learn like adults. People love to be treated like an adult, and people like to have fun. Doesn't matter what language you speak.
Yeah.
We all come to this planet with the one thing. We want to be recognized. We want to be loved. We want to touch each other, and we want to be knowledgeable enough to share information. There's just so much. But the whole thing I truly understood was to learn to respect and honor who are in front of you, because all they wanted was to learn. So for 5 years, it was a beautiful, beautiful ride, and the brand gave me a life of friends around the world I can never, ever repay.
Right.
And I know you and I many times, and we share times together, and we pinch ourselves and they pay us for this. We get to go
I get to travel the world, do what I love to do.
Yeah.
And I get paid?
It's amazing. It's amazing how the brand trusts us enough to understand that we'll definitely be the messengers on their behalf, and we make friends for life to this day. Yeah.
I remember, we have to tell, do you remember, I remember when I got there and the first time and I said, I've got to have Italian pizza. And you and I were there together. And we went to that pizza place. And do you remember we got like 4 or 5 different kinds of pizzas? And I remember looking at you and I went, this is like, I said, I've never had potato pizza before. It's like, what do you have, a bread pizza that you have as well? Or, and remember, I remember the four of us, you and Val and Rita and I are sitting outside, and we're having the pizza, and this little gypsy lady comes by. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And she was trying to sell us, what was it, rosaries
Rosary
or
bead. Yeah, rosary
rosary
beads.
beads? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
she started, and I can't remember whether I said no or what I wanted to her, and she
Yeah.
started screaming at me, and
Yeah.
and then but you understood Italian when you walked away.
Yeah.
She was calling me the devil or something like this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing, and some beautiful, great times,
Yeah,
some amazing, beautiful, great times. I remember we were one of the countries together, and you were doing amazing work, hair cutting, and I was in a different
yeah,
room doing business and talking about how we could grow their dollars in their salon. And as I'm speaking, Valerie and Rita come to mind, and I remember saying, "Here we are. We're trying to teach you how to save money and make money. I know my wife is spending way too much money in your country right now. I gotta leave as soon as possible." And remember when we went back to the rooms that they had all these bags, and
yeah.
Valerie says, and she's like, "It was on sale."
And when
uh,
where was that? Where we was it in Korea that we were in Korea together and we were teaching. I know this wasn't the same time, but I'm just reflecting back because I think we were there and you were telling me this story with I check.
oh, that's
You
Japan.
have to. You have to. That was Japan. Yeah, you
Yeah,
have
yeah.
to tell the story 'cause I wasn't there for
Ah,
this one.
yeah. I mean, I love them. Going to Japan is so difficult to. How do you say their names, and vice versa? So I became Johnson.
Yeah, yeah,
So I was Johnson. So when I used to walk in the office, I had names for all the young ladies at the front desk. They were Charlie's Angel, and they were like, oh, they were so happy, Charlie's Angel. And then we had names for another guy, the marketing team. We had Jackie Chan. Yes, Jackie Chan. And then we had the educational manager, Sugi-san. It's like,
Sugi-san.
yeah, san is like respect, sir.
Yeah,
So Sugi, he wanted to be James Bond. I said, okay, you
uh,
can be James Bond. And then every time we got together, he would open with shaken, not stirred. Okay,
yeah,
very nice. So we were doing a training. We were in Tokyo, and we had to go to Osaka. So, and after the training, we had customers coming. And so here we are. I go, Sugi. And you know me, Chris. Sometimes I could get a little twitchy, with stuff like we knew.
you think?
And I'm going down the checklist. I go, Sugi, you have the signs? Yes, 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 sign, yes. Okay, you have the products? Yes, yes. And I'm going through all the things we needed for the training.
Yeah,
So we get to Osaka. We're in the building, and I'm like looking for him, and I can't find him anywhere. And we need to set up, right? So I go, Sugi, we need tables. He's like, tables? I go, yeah, for people so they can sit, a table. Oh, okay, I check. I learned when he says I check, that means he has no clue what we're talking about. Because right after the table, I go, Sugi, where are the products? Products? I
I
check. And
check.
and then I start getting a little twitchy. Nothing was shipped. Nothing was
Oh
shipped.
no.
So, okay, that was the training. We got past the training. Now it's showtime. And in the back of the theater, there was a big American flag, right? And Sugi says, American flag. I go, yeah. I go, thank you. I said, where's the Japanese flag? He goes, American flag, Japanese flag together. He goes, okay. I check. And he leaves. He comes back, Chris. The freaking flag was the size of the wall. I mean, he came back with his Japanese flag, and American flag looked like that big. And he points to it and he says, Japanese. I go, yeah, nice, very big. So then I said to him, I go, Sugi, we need ice. We need ice for the tables. Ice? Yes, we need ice. He goes, okay. So now I run backstage. I'm getting my headset on, my translation headphones on, and he was supposed to open. All the kids, all the artists are back there. They're all nodding. They don't speak a word. And I'm like, Sugi, where's Sugi? And they're all nodding. Like, okay, he's not here. So you hear the announcer. I understand where they were saying. I put the headset on, and they're introducing Sugi, and he's not here. So, okay, Sugi-san. Everybody's clapping. He's nowhere to
No
be seen.
Sugi.
So, no Sugi-san. So I walk out. So I say, okay, Sugi-san, no, not Sugi-san, no. Everybody laughing, all right? So I did my thing without Sugi. After we did the opening, I find him. I go, Sugi, where did you go? Go? The opening. You were supposed to be on the stage with me. And he's like, Sugi, get ice. He left the building. He left the building to get ice. And Chris, you gotta love them because
Yeah,
they're so humble, they're so caring, they just want to make you proud.
yeah.
And he became Sugi I check. And
Sugi, I
everybody used.
check.
You remember at the exchange, louder. Why don't you tell that
Oh,
story?
uh, well, so we're at the exchange. We're doing a train the trainer program, and we had all the training managers from all the different countries in the room, and so we had this one gentleman come up from France, and is Christian, and so Christian is standing on the stage and he's talking to people, and the whole thing is we're trying to get him to project, meaning that like he would say, so when we're talking about this product, it's like this, and I would say, okay, Christian, you've got to project, and so he'd project, and so everybody would stand up and. Okay, yeah, when we're doing this and X, Y, Z, and this would be the tone that he would talk in. So I said, everybody stand up, and I want all the audience to go to the back wall and put your hands on the back wall. And so I said, Christian, okay, you have to make the people in the back of the room understand your voice. So he would say, yes, when you were applying the product, you do it like this, X, Y, Z. And so I said, you have to do it louder. And so he would say, then he would. I can't remember what he said. Did he say louder?
Louder. Yeah,
He
you
would say,
said, Christoph, louder. And he
yeah.
said, louder.
But he said like louder. He wouldn't.
Louder.
He didn't say it louder. He just went louder.
Louder.
And now you have to imagine. I'm going to turn around. So if you're listening now, well, you have to imagine all the people on the back wall with their hands on the wall, facing the wall, and you can see all their shoulders going up and down, going. Because they're just killing themselves laughing. And so he came away with the name Louder. So that was his nickname from that point on.
Oh my God!
It was
every
good times.
time we had a meeting, they would ask, "Will Louder be here?" he lost his name, Christoph. He became Louder.
Oh, Johnny, those were good times.
For sure.
So we were talking about the evolution of how you went to where you are, and it's sort of an evolving thing. So you went through that international stage, and you gained a great following there. But then I can remember you went from corporate life to a private life, whatever that is. More contracted life.
Yeah.
What was that like for you at the beginning?
Yeah.
Because I remember you and I having a really frank conversation outside. I think it was the Hyatt hotel in Manhattan.
Yeah.
There was this time when you had to move from corporate life to private life. What was that transition like for you?
Yeah, thank you. Sometimes you get to a place. At that time I was director of training with the artist, and I was responsible for a group of artists to help and coach them. And I was doing a lot of what I do today, and and bless my leadership team, saying, you want to do that, you can do that, as long as you still do your responsibilities that we ask you to do. And the momentum just kept building, and I realized that I felt I wasn't given 100% respect to the artist as a coach because this became larger.
Yeah.
And so in a way, I asked to no longer to be part of the corporate world and to go and become a contract, just become an artist, not just, but going away from corporate world. And that gave me the opportunity to do what I feel I was really meant to do at this point.
Yeah.
I feel like right now I look at it, sometimes we have a career, but I think this is my calling right now, where I'm
Yeah.
at right
Yeah.
now, unless things change. And it was scary
Yeah.
because now you hope the phone rings and you
Yeah.
hope that people even know you, because as a director, you're seeing the potential of all the amazing artists and who they are and what you can do to help in a small way, but you're always behind the scenes. And
Yeah.
somehow, some way, the word got out. And I mean, there really isn't a discipline in what we do here, as a coach of personal development and team building and
Yeah.
leadership skills and all this stuff. I feel I don't earn the right to do hair any longer, because it's been a very long time when I actually did hair as an artist. So I focus on my learnings through international, as a director, as a coach, and to take that, because I feel like, yeah, we could teach you a discipline. We could teach you how to cut and color hair, but I can't teach you how to behave. I
Right.
can't teach you to be a good person. I can't teach you how to quiet those damn voices or control those voices, but I can help recognize them and help to do something about it if you're willing. You
Yeah.
know. So that was about 8 years ago.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
I
yeah, eight
remember.
years.
So, like, what? Why do you think it is that I've got a couple questions for you here that I think is really important? Um, why do you think it is right now that so many? I mean, you're on the road every week, or sometimes you're going from weekend to midweek, traveling from business to business, doing this,
Yeah.
and that's from salon to salon, event to event, whatever. Why do you think that there's so many people right now asking for team
Mm,
building and
mm.
leadership? And why do you think that is?
Yeah, I mean, through my learnings and understanding, because when I have conversations with the groups, it's pretty much the same line that we talk about. COVID kicked the ass. COVID did a number on us humans, and right now, people have different perspectives of themselves and their behavior, and how I want to show up, and how do I play in the game. And we talk about we talk about team building, and the idea of team building is it's bigger than what it sounds. It's not like the idea of like falling back and grabbing you build your team. It's how do you get a group of people to come into an area, your playing field, if you will, the salon or
Yeah,
the
yeah,
whatever you teach, wherever you live, on the objective of why are you here? What's your intentions? What's the objective? And what's the purpose? Now, once we realize the purpose is to make money, okay, great, to have your guest, and how do you empower your guest to look and feel good? But now, how does that team become, like we talk about, like the Navy SEALs, having each other's
yeah,
back, no one left behind, all the minutia about everything else, but being laser focused on team, and not, well, it's not my job. I don't do this, I don't do that, but it's for the greater good. They're coming
hmm
into your home. These guests, they could go anywhere. They're coming into your home, and here's an opportunity for you. You have everything that you could possibly need to grow to your potential. And sometimes we don't see it because it's too much work,
right,
and I don't want to. I want to, maybe I want it to be handed to me. I don't know, but every conversation, every class is different. But that's the idea when we talk about team building, is about what is it that makes you a little wiggly with the team, a little nervous, a little upset, and quite frankly, what does that have to do with the objective? So what it is, sometimes, Chris, if I say something and your ears perk up and it touches a nerve, I have nothing to do with it. It wasn't me. It was something
right,
that we carry that we still didn't let go, but I just happened to be the messenger. And now you're angry at me because I said that, but quite frankly, we're angry at the baggage that we still didn't let go.
Yeah.
And so that's we dig quite deep in our events. Sometimes it could be a half a day, and sometimes it becomes a 3-4 day retreat,
Yeah.
depending on
Yeah.
whatever it looks like. But again, it's trusting your gut. It's trusting your gut to really to be a servant as much as possible to serve, because I too went through that. Whatever that is. Maybe the story might be a little bit different, but the pain you're talking about, believe me, I felt it. So
Yeah.
it's up to us to make that shift as a team, as a group, and yeah. So it's just amazing that it keeps evolving every
Yeah.
day, something new.
Yeah. I agree with you that I think that COVID really did a number on us as humans, and even primarily, I notice it everywhere, but we notice it particularly because of our industry. It happened in all industries, but we notice it most how it happened in ours.
Yeah.
And I, just on behalf of the industry, Johnny, I just want to say thank you for what you do to helping to get some sanity back into us. I know that if anything, that half of what we do is is talking about how to develop people as a
Mm.
team. How do we develop them personally? And what I often, and I'm going to throw this at you, etc. But I need to tell you a story because I think a similar thing, not the same, different of results, but in 2008 when that crash happened,
Mm.
and I remember right at the same time I was looking at doing the same thing, doing a program with Blair Singer, and at that time, because everything was about how do I build up my business, because everybody had lost so much money, and then 2008 in the crash, and and I was talking to Blair, and everybody was doing everything they could to take financial planning classes. How do I make more money? How do I get my salon more profitable?
Mm.
And I remember Blair said something that was truly profound.
Mm.
He said, all of these people are seeking financial classes, and how do they make their position more profitable? And he said, I'm paraphrasing here. He said, it won't work for them because they won't do anything. What they need to do first is they need to get personal development.
Mm.
And he said, you need the personal development so your body, so your mindset can actually handle the things that you need to do to become financial viable if you're not right now. And that
Yeah.
stuck with me forever.
Mm.
So, Johnny, can you tell us? I mean, and even since then, he said that. And I tell you, I had to go on the internet and
Mm.
what does personal development mean?
Mm.
So, would you share us just, and again, your opinion, what you do in your classes that can help to help people develop personally?
Yeah. Well, thank you. Personal development. We talk about it. Are you mindful or is your mind full? And
Is your say that again? Is your mind?
is your mind full or are you mindful?
Yeah. Oh,
What
interesting.
happens is personal development kicks in because my mind is very full. I have a lot of stuff going on in my life and I don't know how to handle it and yada, yada, yada. You have no clue. You think your life sucks, and all this stuff. And sometimes people just love to bitch and complain. No matter
Yeah.
what happens, oh, it's freaking raining out, or well, the grass and the flowers need water too, depending how you
Yeah.
look at things.
Yeah.
So the idea is, personal development. Like, okay, so what is it? What is it what is the one? I break it down. I try to keep it simple as possible. If you could wave a magic wand, if everything could be calm in your life right now, what is one thing that gets in your way? What is it? And then they'll come out and say something, and then we realize it's either a fact or a story. And if
Hmm.
it's a fact, then we'll just basically ask them, okay, so what are you going to do about it? Like, what do you mean? I can't do anything about it. Well, you can. No, it's out of my control. If it's out of your control, but you do have choice. So you're going to allow it to take over you, and allow it to hold you down because you don't have any self worth. That's what you're telling me right now.
Yeah.
So now, and or I take control. Either I don't have control, so either I get in the game and do something about it and learn to live with it, or get out of it.
Yeah.
No one's twisting your arm to be there. You know, well, you have no idea, because if I do that, what happens is it's the thinking.
Yeah.
Thought creates dreams. Thinking is the killer of dreams. Thinking is
Yeah.
the killer of personal development. So we could
Yeah.
stop thinking about the game of what if, so we could what if ourselves to death.
Yeah.
The idea
Yeah.
is, what is your intention? If there's one thing you want to do today, Chris, if there's one thing that we want from this day, what would it be? What's your intention today? And here's my intention at work. Here's my intention with my family. Here's my intention for personal life. Here's my intention for my finances. Here's my intention for spiritual, whatever that is. So when you get mind boggled, and when people throw crap at you and you allow them to affect your life, go back to your intention. We are stronger than we could ever imagine. The brain is so strong that we could do anything, but we have to start believing in ourselves first. There's no magic pill. There's
Yeah.
no magic pill. Oh, we need Johnny, or we need Chris, we need Sammy. We need these people. They got to come in and motivate us. No, no, we cannot motivate you. Well, the team is not motivated. No, they are motivated. They're motivated not to be motivated. That's their
Yeah.
motivation. Everybody has a motivation. What kind of
Yeah.
motivation do you have? I can't motivate you unless your mind is open, you know?
Yeah.
so so we get in our own way. So then we dig a little deeper to find out, what are those barriers? What is it? If you could wave that what magic wand and you could get rid of that one thing right now that keeps poking at you, what would it be?
Yeah.
And they go, and they would write these things down, and we go to a bunch of activities, and all of a sudden they realize it's not so big. All I
Yeah.
have to do is be responsible and take accountability and just make it ripple. Just
Yeah.
one step forward. Is the needle moving slightly forward more now than it was yesterday? If so,
Yeah.
celebrate that one bite at a time. We have a life worth of history baggage, and it's not going to go away with one
Just
class or
like
one
that.
event,
Yeah.
just like that. So
Yeah.
the idea is, we're working towards it. We're a work in
Yeah.
progress.
Yeah. It's like it's like when we have these sayings like they gave 100%, and
Yeah,
oh, that was perfect. And when there is no such things. I mean, everybody talks about giving 100%. And yes, you can do, and you can exhaust yourself giving out every little bit of ounce of energy you can, but
yeah,
there's probably not going to be 100% on the
right.
result. And if people could just get past that and just understand that
Yeah,
it's more about progress than it is perfection. So if you
yeah,
can just take a couple steps forward, and then you're better at what you can do, and then I think you hit a really critical part. And I loved what you said about the celebration, because that's what shifts your mindset into that.
yeah,
Okay, good. I did something, like we always talk about lizard versus wizard brain. And your lizard brain is meant to keep you alive and keep you safe, and it's always going to tell you that you can't, or you shouldn't, or you wouldn't, or you're not going to be safe if you're going to do it, or you're going to feel bad, or you're going to feel uncomfortable, or whatever. But you remember that your wizard brain is always the one that makes good decisions. You can't let your lizard brain take over your wizard brain, and I think there's so much to that.
yeah,
Johnny, it's like, and before, because I know I've still got a few more things I want to chat with you about here, but where I know that people out there, they love you, and there's new ones out there that are just getting to know you and going, oh my God, this people can help me. How can people get a hold of you? Like if they,
mm,
because I tell you, and I'm going to say this, I don't want you to have to say it, but this man, if you want to help with team building, if you want to help with somebody that can really help to bring your team onto greatness, it's this man right here.
well,
So if
thank
somebody
you.
wants to get a hold of you, somebody
Mm,
wants you to come in and do a program for you to put them through those steps that you just talked about, how do they get a
yeah.
hold of you?
Yeah, if we're talking about salons out there and they work with the L'Oreal brands, they could go to their DSEs, and
Yeah.
they could go directly to them, and they could book me that way.
Yeah.
if anybody wants to DM me, I'm on Instagram and Facebook, and ask me questions directly. I'm fine with that as well. But I
Yeah.
think the easiest way to book ourselves right now would be through their Salon Centric or State and RDA in the United States and outside the U.S. to go through the educational managers first, and
Yeah.
that'll be the quickest way right now. And they're welcome to hit me up on my Instagram and Facebook. Take it easy.
Is that what so it is Ticket Easy? What is your
No, no,
Instagram is
no.
what? It's John
Yeah,
Stellato,
no. Instagram is Johnny Just B.
Johnny Just Be.
Yeah, yeah. Johnny Just
Yeah.
B's Instagram, and on Facebook is Johnny Stellato. Yeah, but
Gotcha.
I do these weekly take it easy thoughts with Johnny on Instagram.
Yeah. Well, Johnny, and this sounds like I'm signing off, but I'm not right now. We all go and we all have sometimes a little bit of a wrinkle in our day, and you get into our head and you get a little bit pissed off or whatever. And just some of the things you were talking about with intention, Johnny, you're always a great teacher, and we always, doesn't matter who you are, you have rough spots in your day, and I just wanted you to know that you helped me with mine. So that was it was good. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you,
So
Chris.
you're welcome, Jed. I want to go. This is what I call the rapid fire segment, and I'm just going to throw out questions at you, and just whatever comes to your brain.
Okay.
If it's a one word, if it's a thought, if it's a sentence, whatever, it's all good. Okay, so what turns you on in the creative process? Like when you're coming up with a new program or being creative on something, what turns you on?
Oh, wow. What turns me on being creative? I like to listen to music. I love
Yeah,
music. Yeah, and then when I hear music, especially rock, it
yeah,
gets my brain going, and it gets me pumped. It gives me that
yeah.
energy.
Nice. What stifles the creativity for you?
Say it again.
What stifles creativity?
Myself.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. Thinking like I don't know if I could do this. Why are they asking me to do this? What do I know about this? And
Yeah.
then my other side says, "Stop it! Put on the rock and roll music." But yeah, I stifle myself quite a bit.
Yeah, I think
Not
we
good
all do
enough.
that. That's again our lizard brain telling us, trying to keep us safe. An event or a show that you've done that you loved, the first one that comes to your mind. I know you've done many, but just what's the
Wow,
first one that comes? Doesn't mean it's the most important, but the
wow.
one that comes to your brain right now.
Right, the first one that came to my brain when I was in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. It was a business program. There were about 400 people in the audience, and just seeing the how they were so open to understanding about how hard they work, and they're not going to retire working as hard as they do, charging the money they charge. It
Oh,
was a it was almost like a rebellion in that place until they realized it was amazing. But I had to throw it out there.
yeah, they're
God
worth,
bless them.
right? Yeah,
Exactly, their worth.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, a thing in life that you dislike the most.
A thing in life I dislike the most. Hmm. Huh. That's a great question. A thing in life I dislike losing people that I love.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And things in life that you love the most.
Uh, I, I, I love that I'm on this planet, to still have air in my lungs, and I love my family more than anything.
Uh, I would think nonetheless. Most difficult time in your life.
Most difficult time in my life, I think, when my mom was ill, and for about 2 years, I didn't understand it. I was very young, and I thought she just gave up and hated us. But
Oh,
yeah, but and she lived to be 89 years old. She was perfectly fine, But it was crazy for 2 years when I was very young. That was hard.
yeah. A thing that you dislike most about our industry.
Dislike,
Yeah, dislike.
dislike. The people that our industry, we need to start believing in ourselves that we can do this. That it's an amazing industry, and when we truly understand that we are blessed because there is so much. Think about it, that the
Yeah.
opportunities are huge that we could do, and I dislike people giving up so quickly.
Yeah. Good on you. Proudest moment of your life.
Wow. Besides being married to this amazing woman, my two kids when they were born.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Nothing's like that, right?
Yeah.
A living person that you would like to meet.
A living person I would
Oh,
like to
yeah.
meet,
Yep.
the Dalai Lama.
Oh, wow. Person, a person that you admire the most.
My wife, she
Mm.
is, she is, she is my rock.
Yeah, and I know we've got so many stories we could talk about you and your wife and Rita and I, but we'll leave those alone for another episode. Something that people don't know about you, and I think we already gave away the two of the most, but
Yeah.
some,
Something that they don't know about me. When I was very young, I did spend a year in Argentina, Italy to Argentina. We lived in Argentina,
wow,
and then from Argentina we came to the U.S.
wow.
Yeah,
I
but
did not know that.
Buenos Aires. I was living in Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Wow. Okay, you've got a month off. Where would you go? What would you do?
A month off. Where would
Yeah.
I go? We've been cruising once a year lately because life is so short, and we're grateful for what we have. Love going to Europe, and if I could take a whole month, uh, I love Italy. We
Oh,
have we
yes.
have we have family there,
Uh-huh.
and but Valerie loves Italy, and I think when I see her happy, I think it really makes my cup full, and I think I would cruise with Valerie for a month. I think that would be amazing.
Nice. Excuse me. What's your greatest fear?
My greatest fear, not being good enough.
Oh, plagues a lot of us, doesn't it? Favorite curse word?
Okay, you poop head.
Oh, there you go. Wow, you really went down the rabbit hole. I think we're going to have to edit that one. Your favorite comfort food?
Pasta.
Pasta. If you could
And
change one thing about yourself, what would that be?
change one thing about myself. I
Yeah.
wish I had my father's voice.
Oh,
He had an amazing singing voice.
wow. Your your most treasured possession?
Hmm. My family. If you
Oh,
want to, if you want to, if I mean, if you want to call it that. And material stuff doesn't matter.
something in the industry you haven't done, but you want to.
Something in the industry I haven't done, and I want to. Maybe I want to be on the other end of pantyhose and see how that felt.
Oh, I love it. Okay, if I know you said earlier that you wouldn't do anything over again, but if you had one do over that you could do in your life, in your career, and something along the way, what would it be?
Yeah, maybe to pitch at least one inning for the Yankees, just to see how that feels.
Yeah. Okay. Tomorrow, you couldn't do anything that had to do with our industry or teaching. What would you do?
Tomorrow, I would just go outside and just lay by the pool and just be, yeah, just hang out,
Ah,
just breathe, just breathe. I think I may do that tomorrow.
yeah. What a concept, huh? Okay, Johnny. One last thing.
Okay.
Um, if you had one wish for our industry,
Mm,
what would that be?
wow. I wish that everybody's dreams come true in our industry, and that not to give up on these amazing educators that we have. And without education, there's, think about where we came from years
Yeah.
ago to where we are today. My wish is never, ever, ever give up education. And if we do that, the industry is going to blow the world apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. John Stellato, friend, teacher, mentor to many people and myself. You are such a giving soul. And I just want to thank you on behalf of all the people that have been watching and listening. We've got to get you on. We have so many more stories to go through. You have so much information to give out to people. We have to make this happen again. And I just want to tell people that are out there one more time too. So just please, if anybody needs help for building their salons, this is the man you want to go to. Johnny,
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sincerely. Thank you so much for the invite. It's an honor. I mean, I know you've been doing this for a while, and looking at your lineup, I'm like, maybe he misunderstood. Does he really want Johnny to do this? Like, sincerely, Chris, thank you. I'm humbled, and I'm so grateful and thankful. Thank you.
Oh, Johnny, you have so much to give, and thank you. I really appreciate you being here.
Be well.
Cheers.